Welcome to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. I'm your host, Thurston J.Y. Manley. Today's episode, the theme will be the road less traveled. The road less traveled. I'll give you the title of those two stories, but first, just like in the news, what happened this week, Chadwick Boseman passed, also known as Black Panther, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, all the roles, whatever his name was in 21 Bridges and Here Comes the King, one of my favorite actors, killing it. Because anybody that can play Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and then turn around and do Black Panther, I mean, those are different. Besides being different shades of people, different styles of people, he was pulling it off, man. All those accents. I'm hoping. I don't normally believe in the term "it happens in threes," but we're gonna go with that. I think it was called a Popophenia. Hopefully, between him and losing John Robert Lewis, great civil rights leader, marched with Martin Luther King, got hit in his head in that bloody day across that bridge, Pettus Bridge, and also we lost Reverend C.T. Vivian. What's his name? C.T. Vivian. I think it's Cordy Tyndall Vivian. We lost him as well. So for those that believe in three, all right, it's done. Believe it. Say it's done for at least 2020, please. No more losses. That really affected me, especially just having a birthday and that man passing just 3 years older than I am. So my black brothers, make sure you get your checks for your colon cancer. I know I've had it. It's not an enjoyable experience. The colon checks does involve lube in the butt. Not a big fan. Shout out to those that do. Other things that are going on in this episode. The road less traveled. Two stories. First story, I decided to go off of like a little road less traveled. So like a fork in the road between two choices. First story is Quaker or Aggie. Quaker or Aggie. And I'll detail that in the story. That's why you got to listen. That's the first story. Second story, Black Panthers in khakis. Yeah, that's in honor of Chadwick Boseman passing. So I got that story. I kind of had to change it up a little bit to fit it in. That's my Black Panther story. So Black Panthers in khakis? Yeah, Black Panthers in khakis. Second story. First story, Quaker Aggie. Second story, Black Panthers in khakis. You will hear both of these wonderful stories after this ad for Anchor. Oh, and before that, be sure to click the link that I will provide probably on Instagram. And I will try to provide it on your whatever you listen to this on. I have a YouTube channel. Please follow, subscribe, share the YouTube videos and links. It will be just a photo, just like your podcast photo, but it will have the audio of the podcast. So go and listen. Enjoy. Thank you. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Quaker or Aggie? Now you might ask yourself, Quaker or Aggie, how is that even related? How can that even be a choice? Well, in the wonderful city of Greensboro, North Carolina, that can be a choice. Quaker is the mascot for the Guilford College Fighting Quakers, as I've called them in the past, the Punching Pacifists, the Pugilist of Peace, if you will, and the North Carolina Aggies, North Carolina A&T University, Aggie Pride. I have many friends that go to both, but I was set with a choice. When I graduated from high school, this was in 98, that year, early in that year, I had an option of going between those two colleges. If I would have went to A&T, I would not have been playing football. If I went to Guilford, I would get that option. And it was many more choices other than that. Because if I would have went to A&T, I would have tried to walk on, tried to play, try to do something at least with the football team. But it came down to the fall of 98. When my elementary school principal, who's a long family friend, and was the same principal actually for my parents when they were in elementary through high school, because they grew up in segregation and their elementary, middle, and high school were all in the same place, which is funny because their high school was actually my elementary school. So I grew up seeing all their trophies and apparently seeing their principal that they had from the segregated days of the wonderful segregated South. And he came to me and said, "What college are you thinking about going to?" And I told him, as we were sitting in the grocery store, Winn-Dixie, as you know, is popular in the South, is the name of the grocery store. I told him that I was actually looking at Guilford College because the coach came and talked to me, and my current high school assistant coach at the time, Coach Collier, actually went to Guilford, and he was a close friend of mine. He was married to a lady, and that lady's mother, his mother-in-law, was my English teacher, and she thought I would be great at Guilford. And he was shocked. He said, "No, if you're fine with staying in Greensboro, you need to go to my alma mater, not alma mater." He went, "You should go to North Carolina A&T." And I said, "Yeah, I was thinking about A&T." But he says, "No, you need to go to A&T. You need to see it. I will give you tickets to an alumni dinner." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Because he had tickets to this dinner that was $100+ per plate. And it was the Hall of Fame dinner, because not only was he my principal and my parents' principal, but he was also a Hall of Fame North Carolina A&T baseball player. So he got either free tickets or discounted tickets, but he hooked me up with the tickets, and my parents. And my parents are photographers, so it's always good to bring them along so you can get photos of the situation. So I got voted as, kind of brought in as a tag along to my parents as their assistant, but mainly he was trying to push the Aggie agenda on me, which was not a hard push because I'm a big fan of the Parliament Funkadelics and the song Atomic Dog, and it just so happens that those championship MEAC winning North Carolina A&T Aggies football team does come out to Atomic Dog, and that's a hard sell for me right there. But I've gone on several tours of the campus before, because that's just kind of a thing. If you are Black and you're in North Carolina and you have decent enough grades, you will be taken to A&T, Central, maybe even a Fayetteville State, Shaw, St. Aug, schools like that, just to say, well, you're Black, you have decent grades, you should look at these schools, because these schools, you will not be lost in the shuffle, and they take care of minority kids, because that's what we have there. If you go to some of these bigger colleges, you might just fall through the cracks, get looked over, not get that extra attention. It's just the way that it is. So if you're not a stellar standout student, this can help you become one if you go to a historically Black college or HBCU. And I said, okay, I will go to this dinner. And at this dinner, with $100 a plate, they had a famous comedian there, which I think he was on a radio show at the time, a nationally syndicated show, and he was hosting the event. And it was a black tie affair. I had a suit on that looked similar to a tux, as well as my parents, because they had those half a tuxes, because they're photographers, so they do weddings. And I was dressed up to go. And they had the chancellor there and different dignitaries from the school at this dinner in Greensboro. I believe it was at the Downtown Marriott. And if you're in this room, you are somebody. You have money. You are a big contributor to the school. And then the head of the school, I believe his title was called the chancellor at the time, was speaking. And I was like, oh man, this will be my equivalent of a principal when I go there. So I should introduce myself to him and say, hey, I'm interested in coming to your school. I'm very impressed with what's going on, because I'm liking everything I see. If I can make it to their Hall of Fame, this is how they're going to treat me. And I went up to this guy, and the way I would describe him, because I don't want to put his name out there, but he's the chancellor of the school that looked most like George Jefferson from Moving On Up, the Jeffersons. And I came and talked to him, and I said, hey, Mr. Jefferson is what we'll call him. I'm interested in coming to your school. I graduate this year. I'm very excited. I see you got a lot of engineering majors, but I'm more interested in management. And he said to me, well, that'd be good. and just walked off. And I don't know what I expected, but I felt that I came with enough preamble by being in here. I have enough gravitas, if you will, by paying for this table. At least my parents did, giving you some money. I hate to be like that fan that comes up to the rapper like, I bought a CD, so now I own you type of situation. But I felt I should have got more than a, that'd be good. And just walked off on me, not saying anything. I was like, this is the coldest shoulder I ever got. I was, what? I don't know if because I was all suited and booted, looking nice, I just expected a lot more. So I just took that on the chin, went back, and I told my mom, I was like, I don't know if I feel like going to A&T. We might really need to look at going to Guilford. Because I wanted to be in Greensboro, definitely, because that's an hour and a half away from my hometown of Lewisburg. But it's not so far away where I couldn't see my parents if I had trouble, needed money, needed to get a car fixed, or anything like that. So I know I needed to be in Greensboro. And 2 weeks after this encounter with Mr. Jefferson, I had a tour of Guilford College, and they had a football game that day. And this year was the year before I came, they won the championship. They were about to win the championship. It was like the last home game. It's 50, 60 kids, high school kids coming to the game because they're going to beat this team, obviously. The guy, Junior Lord, was playing, who wound up playing in the NFL for a short while with the Dolphins. Also played for, I believe, the Rhine Fire in NFL Europe. And he was jumping all over the place, especially D3. He's really a standout. Quarterback, line's good. They run a good offense. I'm like, I enjoy this. It's a smaller campus. And I'm sitting there amongst 50 or some kids. And those kids kind of like a large tour left. And I decided to watch the finish of the game and catch the last tour. And this older gentleman comes up to me. No suit on, button shirt, a button-up shirt, some slacks. He's got his top button unbuttoned. And he just walks up to me and says, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" It's like, "I'm doing fine, just watching the game. How are you doing, sir?" He's like, "Well, are you interested in coming to Guilford?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm very interested in coming to Guilford. I like where the campus is located, and small class sizes might be for me. I'm from a small high school." And then he asked me where. Told him Lewisburg, and it was a bunch of questions back and forth. It was really interesting. He's looking me in my eye, asking my parents what they do. And then I asked him, so you're Don McNamara? He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm Don." I was like, the name sounded familiar, but not sure from where. Because I was really more focused on class size and the offense they ran than who was the faculty. Turns out he was the president of the college, president of Guilford College at that time. And he asked me to call him Don. He remembered my name after the conversation, and he was really interested. And that kind of just sold me right there. And that was the upfront reason why I chose Guilford College over going to A&T. Now, the other nuts and bolts behind it was I'm coming from Lewisburg High School. And I was thinking, I've only written 2 term papers, and I'm going to go to this writing intensive college where they tell me that you're going to have to write in your statistics class. You're going to have to write basically a paper in that. And I was scared of that, but they offered free tutoring in the library. And I know I needed to be better at communicating through the written form. Public speaking, not a problem. Talking to anybody, not a problem. Talking to people of my same race and knowing the struggles and knowing what our goals are, not a problem. So I felt that having that community, it would be something I would miss out on by not going to A&T, but I felt the need for it was not as strong as being able to get along with people, not only of different races, but backgrounds. I knew no Jewish people at that time, had no regular friends from Latin America or any descent thereof, because at our high school at the time, in 98, we may have had 1 or 2 Spanish students. Latin students, they were probably of Mexican descent because of coming from migrant farms. Nobody of a different sexual orientation. We may have had 2 or 3 that were openly confirming not to be straight. No LGBTQ community that I would know of, maybe 1 or 2. And I communicated with them, but they're not communicating struggles. You don't see you could pretty much, when there's only one or two people that are represent a community, you really don't know how to communicate without offending them, and you don't want to ask one person to be the spokesperson for that community. So I felt I needed that, and I decided to go with the road less traveled from many of my friends that did go to A&T. Many of the people that are high-ranking people are doing pretty well in our community that go to A&T. A lot of people are big fans of A&T that never went there because of their wonderful homecomings. GHO, greatest homecoming on earth. Mad respect for that. But I chose to go with Guilford. Smaller school, helps me with my communication through the written form, also helps me establish a background, stories on different communities, diversity. Quaker over Aggie, this time, road less traveled. Thank you guys. Black Panthers in khakis. Khaki shorts, if you will. It was the summer of 1997. This was the summer before my senior year. I have already signed up for several summer camps to give me experience over what I need to look good on a college application. I know it's kind of late being the summer 97, but it is what it is because I was graduating the next year. But I was trying to catch up. I went to an NC State football camp, and now I was in between going to the minority medical camp and this camp where I met the Black Panthers in their khakis. This camp was called Boys State, B-O-Y-S, boys, as in little men, boys, state, S-T-A-T-E, as in a part of government or, the lines. And this state was North Carolina, because that's where I'm from. And when you go to Boys State, that is a camp ran by the American Legion, you are part of a government. When they put you in your dorms at this local university, in this case, Wake Forest University, located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you would represent your county. You might be a town councilman at the county seat, or you could be the mayor. And it went from that little position all the way up to governor. And you would get elected. You would have to do the backdoor deals of negotiating who could get into this office. You would trade votes out, and you would meet in this council. And in between these meetings of negotiating your government, you would also have these other opportunities, such as to meet the local crazy sheriff. I think it was Davie County Sheriff. He had a Spider-Man car. He had a sniper team. And they did a little fake drug bust, and I was picked to be the one that would hide said drugs as they searched. And they gave us a little role-playing situation where I was there playing cards, and I got to get handcuffed, and I tucked the drugs into my Perry Ellis pullover, which was probably a knockoff from Valley Fair in New Jersey, and it was extra long and baggy because that's what we did in that time period, and it was tucked in there, and he had to shake me to get it out. So they found the drugs eventually, thank goodness. Whew. Thank goodness it was fake, because those dudes look crazy. For some reason, the sheriffs were all in tactical gear, looking like military militia stuff. But anyway, this camp was great. I got to have that experience of getting searched by the dogs and searched by, I guess, a militia, if you will, or / cops. The other experience that I had was signing up for moot court or sports. Normally, because I do and had played football at the time, would sign up for sports. But at this camp, they were very strict. What do I mean by strict? When you show up to the camp, you have to have khaki shorts. I knew I'd be gone for 5 days, total 6 days with travel. And I would need enough shorts where I wouldn't have to wash clothes and or underwear and socks. And I packed that. They said shorts would be required, khaki shorts or khaki pants. So I bought 7 pair of khaki shorts. I was like, I'm straight. Won't have to wash clothes, just pack it, throw it in the dirty clothes. Turns out, you also only get 2 shirts. You heard me right. 7 days with these boys, prepubescent / teenage maybe pubescent. I don't know what prepubescent actually range of, but these 18, 17, I think it was like 16 to 18-year-old boys with 2 shirts you had to wear everywhere you went and khaki shorts. Oh, it was a funky situation. That's why I wore the pullover sometimes, because if I knew I was just going to one event, I could wear the pullover and just wear a white tee and they wouldn't be able to see the American Legion shirt. And I would tell them that I had like eczema or something. I couldn't show off my arms because it was summertime. So, but I'd rather been with an undershirt and this pullover because it was like light and skinny, or a raincoat so I could cover it up. Yeah, I was smart like that. And the reason I didn't sign up for sports, because I knew these people are going to be real funky if they play in these sports and then have to put the same shirts on. Some people are going to show up for practice with those shirts. Oh no, not doing it. So I took the road less traveled. I signed up for moot court. And in moot court, you could be a lawyer or a judge or either a bailiff. And I figured I like to talk. I like to cut people down with some words. So I'll go with the lawyer. Got in. Me and my lawyer team, we worked in the library. Every time there was like a free period where you could go and do your sports. And the reason there was free periods, because the other time periods, you would learn about government. You would sit with your county. I represented the wonderful county of Iredell, which is a county that happens to be just west of me. And every time I go through it, I think, I represented you very well at Boys State in 1997 at Wake Forest University in a small dorm room with a bunch of funky other boys. You'll never know my service, but I did what I could, Iredell, for you. And it was a fun experience doing moot court. I would go to the library. One of the days, taking this road less traveled, going to the library, I actually met Tim Duncan, because Tim Duncan went to Wake Forest University. Got him to autograph my little name tag, which I still have today somewhere in my parents' junk. But I got to meet Tim Duncan, and that is the reason you take the road less traveled. But the other reason, or the other thing that made me look down the road less traveled, was by going to moot court and missing out on the sports. I got to miss out on a lot of the Lord of the Flies situation that was going on. Apparently, there was civil unrest brewing between the boys. Mainly the black kids that were at this camp and the white kids. Because I was in a moot court and I guess there wasn't as much testosterone or anger in the courtroom when we were studying. It was similar to a school situation. And I was thinking, when I'm done with this, I will get credit for being a fake lawyer. That would be awesome on a college application, that I competed in a moot court law situation. You know, even though I don't have any plans of being a lawyer, I just didn't want to get funky. Well, this civil unrest kind of culminated into us taking, not us being me, but the other black kids, taking the name tags and marking them with little letters. With a little BP at the corner of your name tag. That BP meant Black Panthers. And those Black Panthers that were in that group were the bigger, maybe football players that wound up at this camp. And they would vote towards the black agenda. Now, there's not much black agenda at this camp other than getting black people in the office. Which you would think, oh, we want to go for governor. But we already going to have a black governor. You know why? Because everybody else got up there and spoke to be governor. We're joking. As you can imagine, 16, 18-year-old kids would. Popularity contest. Let me crack a few jokes. Say a few things. Everybody laughs. Nobody halfway listens. This brother gets up there. That one that became governor. He goes to the podium. People are laughing and joking, not paying attention. He knows he's on a time limit, and he is quiet and silent to everybody. Shut the heck up. And when they got quiet, then he began to speak. He had a well-organized speech, and he was just seemed so much more mature, developed than us, or not even just like articulate. He just demanded attention. That presence was awesome. That's something that I keep in mind to this day, is that that intentional pause can bring drama and attention and make you stand out. which it did for him, and he won governor. So we didn't really need a black governor, but apparently the angry minority of my brethren that I had no contact with because I wasn't playing sports were very intent on getting into these groups. And the only people that I knew at this camp previously was another brother who went to a different church. I don't know. I think he went to a different high school, maybe in the same county, but he played piano at another church, and I knew him through my church travels with my parents. And so when I saw him, I was like, hey, I kind of know you. And he said, hey, I kind of know you too. And we became cool because it was only two of us, and everybody else in that suite that we're in, a suite of 10, were white. So we kind of clinked up and we became the Spades buddies of that suite. So we stayed together and we became homies through that. But he was also not aware of the Black Panthers because while I was doing the moot court, he was doing another like grant writing and writing bills and laws and seeing how they pass. So he was doing that in a moot situation. So I think he took a grant writing class, which probably would have been better than going through moot court because he could probably actually use that for real later. But mine sounded better. So I went with the lawyer because I was going to be like the next Law and Order or LA Confidential type of dude. But he did the grant writing. We did not know about the Black Panthers. We were playing spades, me and him, versus two of the other white kids that were in our suite, and we're just cracking jokes, talking trash. And one guy comes in and he's like, "Oh man, they grabbed me," and this is a black guy grabbed him. I guess he had the wrong vote, and they had taken his tag. He's like, "They took my tag." And we're like, "Took your tag?" He's like, "Yeah, look at it." And on his name tag, we noticed that the corner was missing, where it said where they would write the BP, which I had never noticed. It was a subtle thing because you had to wear the white shirt, and your white shirt had to be tucked in, and you had to wear the khakis. So you would write BP in small little letters to show that you are a Black Panther or Black Power, even though you had khakis on, dressed like that. Everybody else did, like Carlton from Fresh Prince. And I just they ripped the tag off. He's like, "Yeah," and they threw me out of the group. "So you got to sleep somewhere else?" He's like, "No, I can still sleep in the suite. It's just that I'm not in the group anymore." So really nothing happened except for they took the tag off because they didn't vote to that vote the way they wanted him to vote towards the Black agenda of getting Black people in office, even though we were the smallest minority and you should just be there at camp to do your thing and get the heck out. But I guess they served a purpose. I don't know. But what I learned is that no matter how we get dressed up, if you leave these kids in control without letting them get watched or any tutelage to kind of guide them, yeah, you get Lord of the Flies for real. And that was my experience with Black Panthers in khakis. Shout out Chadwick Boseman. Rest in power, brother. Thank you. Well, we're at the end of this episode, The Road Less Traveled, of the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. I'd like to thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to provide any feedback, please email me at manlystory@gmail.com, or you can send comments to my direct message at my Instagram, Manly Mythical Story, on IG. And now, newly added, we do have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Manly Mythical Story Emporium on YouTube. Find it however that gets found on YouTube, but it's Manly Mythical Story Emporium. I will make an Instagram post about it and provide the link. I'll see where I can put it in the subject line of the IG. I do better talking than I do social media, so bear with me, people. The more followers we can get, the more things we can do. It would be great if you could support the podcast. I did provide a link to an option where you can pay for a subscription, where you would pay as little as $1 per month. You sign up for it. You can cancel that at any time. Sign up, support. You could do a one-time payment and then cancel it or unsubscribe from it so the payment doesn't come out again. Do whatever you can. All that money would go to the good. Would help with some travel with this. maybe some more cameras so we can do a recorded or a live one, or I could do custom stories. We'll see what season 2 brings. Right now, I'm reading the 48 Laws of Power. I got to create an enemy out of somewhere, so I got to come at somebody. So it's between going at Toastmasters or the Moth. Any of them can get it. I think I'm going to try to shoot down at Moth because they come out with regular topics, and try to do that because I know they just moved out of my state, which I'm not happy about. They did the National Story Slams. They used to do them in Asheville, North Carolina, and I was planning to come up there. And when this COVID hit, I couldn't make it up there because I was doing story slams and I could get to Asheville. But before I tried to make it up there, no longer existed. So, and I don't want to go back to Toastmasters because they do help you with your nuts and bolts of doing a speech where you're not saying and ah. You can communicate a lot clearer and not say "and" like that. They can mark you off for that and help you with all those repetitive words. But some of those stories, I don't appreciate how there's some whitewashing of stories, reuse of non-new material. If you could say the same old stuff clearly and wear a proper suit and keep your appearance, then you can pass on. And I think it should be more than that as far as speaking. That just leads to pontification, just speaking in a pompous manner with no content. But that's just me. Go out there, use your threshing weapon, your voices, guys. Prayers go out to the Boseman family. Chadwick Boseman lost him this week with Black Panther. You can lose somebody anytime, man. Be aware. Enjoy your time together. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. Follow on Instagram. Follow on YouTube. I will revamp my Twitter, and there may be a Facebook coming for you Facebook users out there. So we'll get all that together. Enjoy your week, and thank you for following. Bye.